Zookeepers got a major fright when their in-house panda made a run for the borders. The normally slow and fairly heavy panda bear showed its acrobatic prowess when she climbed the fence of its enclosure and escaped the zoo's border. But then the staff discovered where she was trying to go. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. This strange occurrence started on a Monday morning. Guests had yet to arrive at the local Chinese zoo, but just as the zoo was deprived of visitors, so was the panda enclosure, missing its inhabitant. The large adult female panda seemed to have left her confinement, and this was a major problem. The park's caretakers searched everywhere for the large animal. The zoo's staff was in complete disarray. Somehow, a 200-pound black and white bear had escaped their watch. How could we miss something like that? One of the crew members said before getting a huge surprise out of nowhere, because by the end of the day, the panda simply just popped up again. She sat around the pond in her enclosure, eating bamboo sticks like nothing ever happened. How is this possible? How could a panda move in and out unseen like that? Eventually, the crew decided to place cameras around the panda's quarters so they could film and explain this weird behavior, and the footage they captured was unlike anything they could have imagined. Staff watched the monitors like a hawk, even skipping cleaning shifts at other enclosures so they would not miss a thing. The panda acted completely normal during the daytime when guests were present, but after closing time, that changed. When the zoo was eventually empty, the panda's behavior started changing instantly. It started with minute changes, things that the observing staff members did not initially pick up on. They only saw that the panda got off her behind and started walking toward the fence. But that was just the start. Pretty soon, the panda was pacing around her enclosure frantically, making weird noises when she did. She passed by the camera multiple times as if she knew that people were watching, and every time she finished a full lap, she stood still at the same spot, the glass wall at the back of her enclosure. The panda's enclosure was at the far end of the zoo. At the front side, it faced a pathway where visitors could watch her, but at the back, it bordered the open forest behind the zoo. There was a glass wall there so that the greenery of the forest appeared to flow into the enclosure. After the panda finished her final stare down into the forest behind her enclosure, she did something unbelievable. The 200-pound bear suddenly stood up and grabbed the top part of the fencing. The entire back wall was made of glass, except for one tiny area that was made of regular fencing. She used this section to her advantage. The bear lifted her body off the ground, and within minutes, she was balancing in the air on top of the fencing that was supposed to keep her inside. It was an incredible sight, but it also worried the zoo's caretakers. The team watching the monitors stood up from their seats and was ready to stop the panda from escaping once more. That was until one of the staff members called them back. "Stop! I have a better plan," she stated. The woman who made this request was 34-year-old zookeeper Fang. She was the panda's main caretaker and suggested an alternative approach. Maybe there is a reason why she keeps escaping like this, and if we stop her from leaving, we might never find out what it is. Let's let her go and follow her. The rest of the staff was initially hesitant, but after a short deliberation, they all agreed to Fang's plan. A handheld camera was taken from the storage closet, and then the pursuit was put into play. Quickly but silently, the team approached the panda enclosure, hoping to reach the large animal in time. Luckily for the team, they were. The group just managed to see the panda jump the fence and land on the forest floor behind the glass enclosure wall. "Let's go after her, and remember to keep quiet so we won't spook her," Fang reminded her colleagues. Everyone nodded as they ran over. The team had just breached the south gate of the zoo and was now standing in the forest together with the mysterious panda. The panda was already far ahead, so the team knew they had to close the distance quickly. "We cannot let her out of sight," Fang said. Luckily for the crew on foot, their panda target made many noises, indicating where she was at all times. "Is she hurt or panicked? It sounds like distress," one of the crew members stated, but Fang put that thought to rest. She explained that it was a form of communication that was indeed rarely seen. But who was she communicating with? The panda's steps increased speed as she ventured into the bamboo forest. In the beginning, Fang and her team could keep up, but pretty soon the white and black back of the bear disappeared completely from view. "I never knew she was this fast," even Fang stated. Normally, pandas are calm, collective, and slow-moving animals. They spend their days eating and resting a lot. But this panda was in a hurry to get somewhere. The team had no visible cue anymore to follow, so they had to listen closely and try to pick up the panda's communicative moans. The bamboo forest around the zoo was vast, and the terrain wasn't easy to navigate. So, following blindly, only relying on sound, was difficult. The team had to stop multiple times to tune in on the panda's noises. But then suddenly, Fang heard a loud, high-pitched squeal, "She's over there!" The team rushed in while still trying to remain as quiet as possible. After a short sprint, they saw the panda's back again. Fang held up her hand in a balled fist, indicating that her colleagues needed to approach the animal with great caution. Her will was law because all obeyed instantly. The large panda bear sat on her behind and stared into the opening of a large cave. She made many strange sounds, noises that even Fang had never heard before. What was she doing? There was only one way to find out. Fang took the lead and placed one foot in front of the other. The large panda then noticed Fang's presence. She looked around and made a soft, squealing noise in Fang's direction, but the fact that her human friend was around didn't seem to bother the panda bear. She simply turned her head forward again and stared into the darkness of that cave. "What is it, Po?" Fang asked the large bear. Po was the panda's name, one she always seemed to respond to. Well, but this time, the pronunciation of her name didn't move the animal one bit. Fang stepped closer, trying to make contact with her friend repeatedly. But then something terrible happened. Fang was almost within touching distance of the large female panda. It was her chance to gain trust and for the caretaker to peek into the mysterious cave. But right before a hand could be placed on the soft black and white fur, heavy and aggressive voices were heard from behind the group. Fang turned and heard the sound of a tranquilizer gun being loaded. "No, stop!" Fang yelled. But her plea for a peace was already too late. The rifle was fired, and a tranquilizer dart hit the side of her furry black and white friend. The large panda fell to the ground and was asleep instantly. After that, the zoo's owner came rushing in from behind the gunman. The manager had an angry look on his face. He addressed his staff and stated they were lackluster in their tasks. The panda shouldn't have escaped in the first place. And if you brought tranquilizers, you could have caught her a while ago. "This panda bear is my property, and I want her back in my zoo immediately." The zoo manager's face was red with anger, and discussing Fang's plan with the irritated man was of no use. He pointed toward the panda bear, and instantly 6 security guards burst in to lift the panda onto a stretcher. Even though Fang knew that it was pointless, she had to try to explain their reasoning. "We saw the panda's unrest, and we wanted to get to the source of it. If we knew where and why she was going, maybe we could prevent it from happening again. That's why we are here now. I mean, she came to this cave, right? What is this place? What's inside that cave?" It was a valid question that any sane person would want the answers to. But Fang's boss was no such person. He wanted nothing to do with it and simply wanted his animal behind fenced walls. Go back now. Before Fang or her colleagues had any chance to move, 2 large security guards blocked their path. Fang wanted to check the inside of the cave since it clearly held significant value for her panda friend, but the guards pushed her away from the scene and back toward the park. But this adventure was far from over. It would get a second wind and not keep everyone waiting for long. With the panda awake again in its enclosure and most of the staff members separated from her post by the owner, the only thing Fang could do was watch her panda friend. The panda sat stationary in her enclosure, and Fang could see her saddened state. Po had not moved from the same spot for hours, staring at the glass wall with the forest behind it. Escape was impossible this time because Fang's base had ordered a temporary heightening of the enclosure wall. Makeshift fencing with barbed wire was placed on top of the original fencing, preventing any further escape attempts. "What is it, Po? Why do you want to go back so badly?" Fang felt a tear roll down her cheek. Seeing her friend like this filled her with sadness. In the end, the worried caretaker couldn't take it anymore. She had to figure out why her friend tried to escape. Po could not stay in there feeling this way, so Fang made a decision. She waited for her shift to end and secretly began her mission. She waited for the second unit to take over, personally handed off the enclosure keys, and then snuck to the southern forest exit. It was a straight line back to the large cave. Fang kept glancing over her shoulder, making sure no one followed her. Once she reached the entrance, she called out. For a moment, there was silence then. Faint sounds came from the darkness. The noises were unsettling at first, but Fang pressed forward. She was determined not to let Po down. Inside the cave, she found broken bamboo scattered across the floor. Then she noticed shadows on the wall moving. Heavy footsteps followed, and then they appeared. 5 pandas, 3 adults, and 2 cubs stepped into the light. It was a breathtaking sight. Pandas were typically solitary animals, so seeing a group living together was extraordinary. It all made sense now. Po must have seen them through the glass and heard their calls from the cave. With their sensitive hearing, Po had probably sensed their presence for a long time. How frustrating that must have been, Fang thought, to be locked away while they were just beyond reach. She needed to act. After a quick plan, Fang rushed back to the zoo and grabbed a tape recorder. She entered Po's enclosure and recorded her vocalizations. Then she returned to the forest, hid in the bushes near the cave, and played the sounds. Within minutes, the pandas emerged and moved toward the recorder. Curious and alert, they followed the sound until they neared the glass wall of the enclosure. Fang revealed herself and walked the device closer. The pandas recognized her and didn't retreat. What happened next was unforgettable. The pandas and Po greeted each other with joy. Their reunion was filled with cheerful sounds and playful energy. Zookeepers and even the previously indifferent zoo owner witnessed the scene. Overwhelmed by the moment, the owner thanked Fang. He admitted the event had changed how he viewed the animals. A bold decision followed. The panda enclosure was shut down to the public for a week to do a major remodeling job, and then, when the enclosure reopened 7 days later, everyone was stunned. The zoo added a tunnel between the enclosure and the forest. It allowed Po to see his friends and the forest pandas and visit the zoo. The enclosure would sometimes be empty because of it, but seeing all the pandas together was worth it.